Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Today is a special Friday edition of the broadcast. I am your host, Matt Morris. Thank you, everybody, for tuning on. Today, we have a lot to talk about. In fact, we're not only going to be covering one story today, we're going to be covering three, maybe four. In fact, I have a special surprise at the end of today's broadcast if you guys stick around. So today, I want to tell you what we're going to talk about first, and then we're just going to get right into it. Everybody, thank you very much for tuning in. We are live right now on YouTube, Matt Morris TV, Rumble, Matt Morris TV, Kick, Matt Morris TV, and we are live on Twitch, 4 different places. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Today, we are going to talk about the looming United States government shutdown, the shutdown of the federal government, which is scheduled to happen 4 days from now, September 30th, unless, of course, the Democrats, led by Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, decide to capitulate to President Trump's demands. If I had to make a bet right now, I would bet that they do, but right now they are showing some resolve. They don't want to do it. They don't want to work with President Trump. Then, beyond that, we're also going to talk about today's bombshell report. We just got some new data coming out of the pipeline confirming the degree to which left-wing violence, left-wing domestic terrorism is absolutely surging through the roof. Right now, we've been hearing a lot of rhetoric coming from the left saying that, well, yeah, it might seem like there's a bunch of left-wing violence, but really still trust us, just trust us. Really the right, really everybody on the right, they are the real violent ones in the country. Well, guess what? Today we got a new report proving to the contrary, proving the exact opposite. We're going to break that down. And then, of course, really the big highlight blowout story of the day, we're going to talk about the United Kingdom and this brand new digital ID is what they are calling it. This is a form of identification that is being compelled and pressed upon the British people by Keir Starmer and his government, and people are very upset. The implications for this are massive, and so I think a lot of people kind of say, oh, that's over there in the United Kingdom, who cares, whatever. Well, as it would turn out, this might have some impact on us Americans over here in the United States of America. And so we're going to talk about that today, what it really means for us in the US and also what it means for the United Kingdom. So folks, with your permission, I think we should just get into the show. Today is going to be a big one. Thank you all for being here. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, whatever it is. It helps a lot. Let's get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about today is the government shutdown. Take a look at this. Let's do a little bit of a retrospective here. Last week, the House Republicans voted to fund the government. Listen, folks, I think a lot of us over here on the right side of the aisle, we maybe don't really, we're not the biggest fans of the federal government. Let's put it that way. As we all know, there's a lot of bloat and waste and corruption in the federal government. The fact of the matter is, President Trump kind of needs the federal government to be open so that he can pursue many of his projects at the moment. Now, if it does get shut down for some period of time, still, Trump might be able to squeeze out a little bit of a victory, and we're going to talk about what that looks like also, but right now, we kind of begrudgingly, we want the federal government to remain open. We do not want the shutdown. Now, some bad things that could happen if the government does get shut down, as far as we are concerned. Well, this could mean halted or just permanently lost payments for federal employees. And by the way, yeah, there are a lot of bad federal employees. Trust me, we all know that. We've talked a lot about that, but some of them are actually necessary. We must acknowledge that. And it means that those people would not be getting their payments. And then also it would negatively impact veterans. A lot of veterans, both currently serving and formerly served veterans, they rely on the federal government to be open to get their veterans benefits. So that's a big deal also. And then beyond that, it could also, if the government were to shut down, depends on how long it is shut down or how long it stays shut down, it could totally mess up Trump's sort of economic revival right now. We could see rising inflation rates. We could see a reduction in stock market growth, which impacts a lot of people's retirement plans. And we could also even see a massive reduction in consumer spending, which would likewise sort of put a damper on Trump's economic revival here. So this is why last week the Republicans voted to fund the government. And they voted to fund the government. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call right now. They voted to fund the government in a very lean, very precise. There's not a lot of bloat. It's just, hey, keep the current budget going. The Republicans aren't loading this new funding package with a bunch of bull crap. It's just very lean. The Democrats are refusing to fund the government unless the Republicans concede to their far left policies, including taxpayer-funded health care for illegal immigrants. So this is currently where we stand. We have a lot to talk about here, but right now is a little bit of a forward. The Democrats are pretty much threatening to shut down the federal government unless President Trump and the congressional Republicans agree to give illegal aliens health care. I kid you not, that is pretty much the deal that's on the table. Their priority is clearly not the American people. Now, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, this is Senate Minority Leader and House Minority Speaker. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are demanding a meeting with President Trump to come to an agreement here of sorts. President Trump, we're going to read through this. President Trump dropped this big post on Truth Social just the other day, directly addressing the Democrats, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, and we're going to read through this here in a minute. But first, I see a massive super chat over here from Bubby P. This is a $100 super chat. Bubby, thank you very much. He says, take heed, Blue. If you prick us, we do not bleed. If you tickle us, we do not laugh. If you poison us, we do not die. And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? Vengeance is ours. MAGA lives on, but peacefully and respectfully. Bubby, I appreciate it. Happy Friday evening. It is a Friday evening. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Bubby, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Now, like I said, I think you guys are going to like this here. If the government does get shut down, and Trump and his administration, they do not want it to get shut down, but if it does, if the Democrats want to play hardball here, Trump still wins. There's a massive play, a massive maneuver that President Trump gets to make. He can make it if the government gets shut down. Stand by. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Also, we had a real quick Aaron Worley, 5 gifted YouTube memberships. Thank you very much. I'm going to read. That's a massive one. Thank you. President Trump said in response to the Democrats, the congressional and the Senate Democrats, he said, after reviewing the details of the unserious and ridiculous demands made by the minority radical left Democrats in return for their votes to keep our thriving country open, I have decided that no meeting with the congressional leaders could possibly be productive. He says it's a waste of time to talk to these losers. It's a waste of time. They are threatening to shut down the government of the United States of America unless they can have over $1 trillion in new spending to continue free health care for illegal aliens. This is a monumental cost. This is an unacceptable cost. They also want to force taxpayers to fund transgender surgery for minors. Yeah, we're not doing this anymore. No. They also want to have dead people on the Medicaid rolls. They want to allow illegal alien criminals to steal billions of dollars of taxpayer benefits. They want to try to force our country again to open our borders to criminals and to the entire world. They want to allow men to play in women's sports. This is such a long post. And essentially create transgender operations for everybody. Is that true? Do you think that if the Democrats ever get back in control of the country that they would mandate transgender surgeries for every single person in the country? Hey, you're having the surgery. Do you think they would do that? I don't know. Listen, they are so radical and progressive and just frankly insane and mentally ill these days. You know what? You never know. These radical left views and policies is what allowed me to win the presidential election, including all 7 swing states and the popular vote in an absolutely historic landslide. And it was a historic landslide. There are consequences to losing elections, but based on their letter to me, the Democrats haven't figured it out yet. They are trying to eliminate the popular $50 billion rural and vulnerable hospital fund, which was passed with only Republican votes, by the way, and proudly signed into law by me, the president. The Democrats in Congress seem to have totally lost their way. They are lost is an understatement. These people are, yeah. They've lost their way. Now, where were we? They obviously have no idea what it means to put America first or to make America great again. all congressional Democrats want to do is enact radical left policies that absolutely nobody voted for. High taxes, open borders, no consequences for violent criminals, men in women's sports, taxpayer-funded transgender surgery, and much more. Few people voted for what they represent, which would lead to the destruction of America. Instead, people voted for common sense. And that is what the Republicans and your president, Donald Trump, stand for. I look forward to meeting with them, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, if they ever get serious about the future of our nation. We must keep the government open and legislate like true patriots rather than hold American citizens hostage, knowing that they want our now thriving country closed. I'll be happy to meet with them if they agree to the principles of this letter. They must do their job, otherwise it will just be another long and brutal slog through their radicalized quicksand. Now, folks, real quick, to put some numbers into play here. The Senate Republicans, they have 53 votes. They've got 53 Senate Republicans. You need 60 votes in the Senate to pass a budget to keep the government open. So 7 of these Democrats, if we want to keep the federal government open, and Trump does, then we need 7 of these Democrats to flip. Now, after posting this here, just this scathing, brutal obliteration of the congressional Democrats, President Trump in the Oval Office yesterday afternoon had this to say. Take a look. But first, real quick, super chats. Kevin says, let's have a government shutdown. If we have no budget, then President Trump can end all programs, agencies, departments, and contracts and furlough all employees that he considers non-essential. That may be as part of the plan here. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. Like I said, as far as Trump is concerned, as far as we are concerned, this is kind of a win-win situation, and I think the Democrats probably have to know that. They're screwed if they do, and they're screwed if they don't, so to speak. Thank you. We're going to talk a little bit more in detail about that here in a minute. Thank you very much. Mike says, I'm kind of special. Would a government shutdown mean a halt on deficit spending? No, pretty much no. Well, slightly, but I'm going to say this. Inconsequentially, yes, but pretty much no. Let's put it that way. Let's put it that way. Now, this is what President Trump had to say yesterday in the Oval Office. Thank you, folks, for the super chats. Take a look.
Well, this is all caused by the Democrats. They asked us to do something that's totally unreasonable. They never change. They want to give money away to illegals, illegally, people that entered our country illegally. They want to give them massive federal money. And we don't want to do that because it means everyone's going to just keep pouring back. Right now, we have absolutely perfect borders like you haven't seen in many years, even better than I had great borders during my 4 years, but these borders are stone cold closed. You can only come into our country legally now, but the Democrats want to give it all away. They want to open up the borders. Take a look at that. It's a big thing. They want to open borders again after what we're going through now, getting rid of prisoners, getting rid of all of these people dropped out from mental institutions, drug dealers, drug addicts, everything. They're putting everybody into our country. It's all ended now. But this is what Schumer wants. This is what the Democrats want. They want to have, and they want to take our money. We're doing well. Because of tariffs, we're doing unbelievable. We're making more money than we ever.
So here's the deal. This is something we need to keep in mind here. We just got a new Rasmussen poll yesterday. Rasmussen, I think we all know, is the most trustworthy pollster when it comes to polling Donald Trump's national approval rating. They dropped this bombshell yesterday. Frankly, I even have a hard time believing this. 57% approval rating for President Trump. I'm a Trump guy. Even I have a hard time believing that. Rasmussen, however, is the most trustworthy pollster when it comes to President Trump and his national. It's just the fact of the matter. They're saying 57% right now. That's hot off the press yesterday. Beyond that, listen, we had a national referendum is what the 2024 election was. The 2024 election was a national referendum on whether or not we want transgender for everybody, hormone therapy for children, open border, continued, crime and human smuggling and illegal aliens and fentanyl flooding into the country. This was a referendum on progressivism versus American nationalism, putting America first, and the American people overwhelmingly chose, like he said, every single swing state. He won the popular vote, the national popular vote, for the first time. It's the first time a Republican has won the popular vote in 20 years, since 2004. And also, I like to say this because I feel like not many people know this. Every single state in the nation voted red in 2024 at a higher rate than they did in 2020. Every single state between 2020 and 2024 had a right-leaning, a red-leaning push. Not to say that all of them voted red, but all of them voted more red than before. So President Trump, he realizes what the game is here. He realizes where the national sentiment is. The congressional Democrats, they have a 16% national approval rating. I'm not making that up. Feel free to fact check me on that. Congressional Democrats have a 16% national approval rating. Trump, we're talking 57, something like that. He's the president. We've got the House and we have the Senate. Americans voted. Okay. And so here's the deal. President Trump is not playing ball with these freaks. He realizes whether or not the government stays open or whether or not it shuts down temporarily, he still can turn this situation into a win. And we're going to talk about that here in a minute. Stephen Miller pretty much summarizes what the Democrats are looking for right now. Take a look at this.
Well, the Democrats are demanding free health care for illegal aliens. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries have been clear. They will not fund law enforcement. They will not fund the military. They will not fund public safety. They will not fund the operations of the federal government that your tax dollars pay for unless they get free health care for illegal aliens. That is the biggest losing message and the biggest losing argument in American history. We will see if there's enough Democrat senators who are dumb enough to follow Chuck Schumer off the edge of that cliff.
All right, Stephen, thanks for joining.
How many of the Democrats are dumb enough to follow Chuck Schumer off of the cliff? Speaking about the Democrats and being dumb, you guys know that Chuck Schumer, we already said the congressional Democrats, they have a 16% national approval rating. Okay, Chuck Schumer, his approval rating is even lower than that. Chuck Schumer, there are a lot of people on the progressive side of the aisle here. They don't like Chuck Schumer. They've said, listen, Chuck Schumer, you got to go. We got to replace you, Chuck Schumer, Senate Minority Leader, with somebody that is even more progressive. Chuck Schumer, you are not progressive for us. Chuck Schumer, we want Senator Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She might try to run against him. Okay? Whether or not she decides to run for president, I don't know. It's up to her, I guess. But listen, a lot of people, a lot of Democrats don't even like Chuck Schumer anymore. So how many of them are going to follow Chuck Schumer's plan here to shut down the government? This entire situation is totally incompetent. Once again, the bargain here is President Trump. If you don't give us $1 billion, trillion, zillion dollars that we can, funnel over to all of our illegal aliens, then we're going to shut down the government. That is unironically the deal here. Take a look at this. Schumer wants to fund illegal aliens. Schumer wants to fund leftist media. Schumer wants to reopen the border. The American people rejected this madness.
We could be headed for a government shutdown. I see that as an opportunity for President Trump to take command of spending. What do you say to that?
I completely agree. Let's understand the reason why there's a pending government shutdown is because Chuck Schumer wants more money going to aliens. He wants a wide open border. He wants to give almost $500 million to nonprofit TV networks. Something that we don't need if you need right now in today's America. There's entertainment and information all over the place. And that's what they want. They want more spending. They want more reckless policy. That's what the American people rejected last November. And so if there is a government shutdown, it's because Chuck Schumer wants a shutdown for more radical spending that the American people simply do not want.
I got to say real quick, folks, about 9-10 months ago, I was driving around town running errands and I flipped on NPR, National Public Radio, in my car as I'm driving around town, just to see what's on. The story they were running, I kid you not, it was, today we hear from Lakshmi Shmang, who's covering the brave story of what it's like to be a gay, transgender, handicapped immigrant from Zimbabwe who lost both of her parents in some type of, it's like, okay. Listen, man, no offense. I'm an American. I live in America. I don't really care about the Pakistani girls choir, whatever you're talking about. I just don't really give a crap about that. I don't want my taxpayer money being spent on that. And so we shut it down. Okay, we did. Okay. The Democrats want it back. Now, this is what we're going to talk about here. Okay, we had a super chat kind of alluding to this, and this is what they were talking about just right there. Hear me out. Under a new White House plan, potentially tens of thousands of federal employees could be laid off for good if there is no deal agreed upon to fund the federal government before the deadline expires. What is that expiration date? 4 days from now, September 30th, right before we head into October. So, folks, President Trump, this is what we're talking about. Win-win situation. Doesn't matter if you're Trump, you're going to pull a win out. Doesn't matter what happens here with this federal government shutdown, because, you know, if the government stays open, good, full steam ahead. He's doing what he's doing. He's doing what he's been doing. Okay, keep it up. If the government shuts down for a week or two, whatever it is, it's up to the Democrats, I guess. Ball's in their court as far as that goes. Then Trump is just going to start permanently laying off all of these undesirable federal employees. To be fair, I want to give credit where it's due. Not every single federal employee is a waste of taxpayer money. You know, there are some of them. Some of them, I assume, are doing good work. But a lot of them, you guys have seen the reports coming out from the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. A lot of these guys are sitting on their ass doing nothing. I mean, this is what the DOGE found. A lot of these guys in the federal government, they weren't even clocking into work. Some of them hadn't even been into the office in like 6 months. They're just sitting there collecting paychecks. And so it's these ones, they've already been identified. We know who they are. They're sitting in a database. President Trump has got a database here. He knows exactly who they are. Guess what? If this government shuts down, Chuck Schumer, those people are getting laid off. We are saving the taxpayers money. So like I said, big takeaway here. Doesn't matter what happens. Either way, it's a win-win. And, you know, even if the government does shut down for some amount of time, might be a week or two at most, they're going to bring it back up. So, like we said, all of this depends. It comes down to whether or not Trump can get 7 of the Senate Democrats to vote alongside the Senate Republicans. You need 60 votes to keep this government open. Deadline is 4 days from now. Republicans have 53 votes. You need 60 total. So 7 of them have got to flip and vote. Okay, we got to keep the government open. And you know what? Some of them might flip. They might do it begrudgingly. You know what? I hate Trump. I hate him. I'm a Democrat. I hate him. And yeah, I really wish we had more money for illegal aliens, but we can't let Trump lay off these tens of thousands of federal employees. So I got to flip and I got to vote alongside him. Could be the case. There's all these different backroom conversations happening right now. So time will tell. We're going to be covering this every single day, but folks, we're going to move on to our next story here. Okay, we've got a lot to talk about today. First off, this is from Wind the Raven. Says, keep it up, Matt. You are killing it watching from Colombia. Well, hey, muchas gracias. I appreciate that. Welcome to the show, everybody. Right now, we are live on YouTube and Rumble and Kick and Twitch. We are live on 4 different websites right now. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. Thank you for that from Colombia. I appreciate that, my Latin American friend. And also, this is from John. He says, during the shutdown, all non-essential people go home. What part of government has Trump been trying to get rid of? Non-essential personnel. Makes you think. Like we said, win-win scenario. Let's move on. Everybody, thank you very much. Let's move on. Let's talk about this just never-ending series of far-left radical violence, domestic terrorism. We can call it that. Now we can literally, terminologically call it that. This never-ending rise in far-left domestic violence. Let's take a look at this. Okay, there's an article I want to read with you, folks. Take a look at this image. You got Charlie Kirk. You got Luigi Mangione, Charlie Kirk assassin. This would-be ICE assassin tried to kill a bunch of ICE agents. He failed 3 times in a row. Ended up killing at least one of the illegal aliens he was trying to defend. Totally incompetent. Left-wing terror attacks reach record highs in 2025, fueled by unhinged opposition to the Trump administration. A disturbing study has found. New report hot off the press. Left-wing terror attacks are on track to reach record highs this year, as Democrats have been accused of ramping up their harmful rhetoric in their opposition to the Trump administration. A disturbing new study has found. Once again, folks, let's be brutally honest about the dynamic here. Every single time someone on the left calls you or me or one of us or Trump a Nazi, a fascist, a this, a that, a constitutional crisis, a threat, you, MAGA Trump voter, you are a threat to democracy. What's the implicit notion here? They are saying somebody's got to kill this guy. Anytime somebody calls me this or calls you that, what they're really doing is hoping that somebody kills you. Really? Because, I mean, yeah, it's like, listen, if the notion here is that you are a threat to the country or a threat to democracy, then yeah, they're really trying to, you know, spark off some type of domestic terror attack, as we have seen time and time again. Violent plots planned or perpetrated by the far left in the United States as a percentage of all terrorist attacks and plots hit a record high in the first half of 2025 and is on pace to reach a 3-decade record high, according to a study from the Center for Strategic International Studies. We're seeing a lot of this rhetoric coming from the left right now. They're saying, listen, yeah, I know that literally every 2 or 3 days there's yet another instance of far left domestic terrorism. Yes, I know. Yes, it's in the news. It's all over the news every single day. But trust me, we have some other study that says that really it's the right-wingers that are more violent. What they're doing is asking us not to believe our eyes and our ears. They're asking us to deny what is reality. Well, listen, now they can't argue this. Now we have the data. Now we have the studies. Now we know what's going on. Through July 4th, 2025, thus excluding the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the attack on the Dallas High. So this isn't even including the most 2 recent attacks. There were 5 left-wing terror attacks or plots the study found. I would even speculate that number is low here because it's every couple of weeks we have a new transgender mass shooting. In fact, it was about 3.5 weeks ago we had a transgender mass shooter that went into a Christian private school 3.5 weeks ago and started killing little Christian kids. And that has happened God knows how many times, too many times. Regardless, though, this number is 8 times higher than the average of 0.6 left-wing incidents annually from 1995 to 2000. So, folks, let the record show. Left-wing domestic terrorism has multiplied 8 times in the last 6 months compared to how it used to be. The CSIS researchers compiled and analyzed the data set of 750 terrorist attacks and plots in this time frame over the last 30 years. For the first time in 30 years, terrorist attacks from the far left are outpacing attacks from the extreme right. Reiterate that. Terrorist attacks from the far left are now outpacing attacks from the right. The number one problem in the country is far left domestic terrorism. And I think we all know that's the case. The study also found that the increase in left-wing violence since President Trump first took office in 2016 has been largely motivated by anti-government extremism or anti-partisan extremism. To be fair, it's not anti-government partisan extremism. It is anti-Trump partisan extremism. These people have no problem with the government. It's not that they are like hardcore anarchists or hardcore extreme libertarians. That's not what these people are. These people are far left radical progressives. They've been propagandized and mind controlled by the far left, and they hate Trump. And they also think that everybody that supports Trump or has voted for Trump ought to die. This is not an attack on the government. This is an attack on us, on conservative Americans is what this is. Kirk's alleged killer, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, scrawled, "Hey, fascist, catch this," on a shell casing before shooting him dead. We have a super chat here. I'm going to take a look at this. Some law firms should start a class action lawsuit against the Soros Open Society Foundation for businesses and insurance companies hurt by the riots. You probably watched today's videos. In today's video that I uploaded a couple hours ago, I showed you guys, if you saw that, George Soros, through his Open Society Foundation, he has funneled $80 million into American far-left politics to pay for these protests, to pay for the propaganda, to pay for the posters and the flyers and the far-left radicalization, directly subsidizing the violence. And he's not the only one doing it either, but George Soros Open Society Foundation, $80 million. The CSIS study found the rise in left-wing violence this year can be explained, quote, as opposition to the Trump administration. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. That is exactly what it is. Now, Stephen Miller ripped into this entire situation. Listen, you guys are going to want to pay attention to this. Play the video here. He absolutely puts this into perspective. Take a look.
where the left calls people enemies of the republic, calls them fascists, says they're Nazis, says they're evil, says they have to be removed, and then prints their addresses. What do you think they're trying to do? They are trying to inspire someone to murder them. That is their objective. That is their intent. And when you see online, Sean, as we've seen for the last few days, tape after tape after tape of federal workers, bureaucrats, staffers in the Pentagon, educators, professors, healthcare workers, nurses, celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk. These are radicalized people. There is a domestic terrorism movement in this country.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something I've not shared with anybody, but the last message that Charlie Kirk gave to me before he joined his creator in heaven was he said that we have to dismantle and take on the radical left organizations in this country that are fomenting violence. That was the last message that he sent me before that assassin stole him from all of us. And we are going to do that under President Trump's leadership. I don't care how. It could be a RICO charge, a conspiracy charge, conspiracy against the United States, insurrection, but we are going to do what it takes to dismantle the organizations and the entities that are fomenting riots, that are doxing, that are trying to inspire terrorism, and that are committing acts of wanton violence. It has to stop. And my message is to all of the domestic terrorists in this country spreading this evil hate, you want us to live in fear? We will not live in fear, but you will live in exile.
Now, folks, since the recording of this video, we just watched Stephen Miller here. Since this was recorded a couple days ago, President Trump has passed 2 pretty substantial executive orders. The first of which was about a week ago, in which he officially designated Antifa and all of its members and all of its supporters as definitive domestic terrorists. You are a domestic terrorist. If you are a member of Antifa, if you're a supporter, if you're an affiliate, if you're showing up to the marches and the protests, guess what? Domestic terrorist. The next executive order, which he signed yesterday, allows the federal government, the DOJ, the FBI, to start looking into researching and criminally holding accountable those that have been funding Antifa and financing Antifa, as well as all of these other domestic terror organizations. Antifa is not the only one. So it's, yes, label the foot soldiers and the grunts, these Antifa freaks on the ground, call them what they are, definitively, categorically, they are domestic terrorists, yes. But then it's beyond that. Also, not only that, we're not only rounding up the grunts and the foot soldiers now, what are we doing? We're also going after the financiers. Like we said, we're talking about people like George Soros, Open Society Foundation, $80 million in the last couple of years funneling into the country to pay for stuff like this. And it's more than that. It's all over the place. And so it's a whole top down. It's on the ground level and top level. We're shutting this stuff down, and thank God. Now, we talked about RICO charges. Listen, these people are part of a whole. They will say that they are not part of any larger, coordinated, organized organization here, Antifa. They'll say, oh, we're just a bunch of random lone actors. Okay, genius. Well, answer me this question, Mr. Antifa. How is it that time and time again for like 15 years now, all of these far left radical freaks, they coincidentally show up at the same place, at the same time, with the same posters, in the same clothing, with the same talking points, with the same, what are those called? Megaphones. Isn't that a little bit weird for a group of people that have no premeditated coordination, no communication, no organization whatsoever? It is kind of weird that for 15 years straight, month after month, for years, over a decade now, they've all been acting in complete and total unison. That is a little bit weird, Antifa, which is allegedly not an organization. So now we're busting this thing open. Now we're tearing this apart. With these 2 executive orders, Trump has laid down the pretense. He's got the foundation to do it. He has delineated, he's designated these people as domestic terrorists. He's going after the funding. And soon, I would hope, we start kicking in doors. Okay? That's what I want to see next, because that is what we need to see next. These people need to face justice and accountability. Now, folks, we're going to move on to the next big story of the day. We're going to talk about what's been going on. This is all over the internet. Everybody is talking about what is going on in the United Kingdom. This is posted a couple hours ago from the official government Twitter page of the UK Prime Minister. Introducing, they said, secure borders and controlled migration are reasonable demands, and this government is delivering. Prime Minister Keir Starmer, he says he's delivering. Introducing digital ID, which will make it tougher to work illegally in the United Kingdom. Now, folks, we are going to talk about what's going on in the UK. If you don't care about the UK, bear with me because there are some implications here for those of us over here in the United States. We're going to relate this back to the US. New digital ID scheme to help combat illegal working. I feel like they shouldn't use the word scheme. Obviously, this situation is already very suspicious and suspect, and you know people are going to be pissed off, and people are pissed off. So then why would you use the word scheme? It sounds so sinister and devious. Now, you know people are mad. This post has 652 likes and 4,500 comments. Yeah, people are not happy about this. Real quick, before we start breaking this down, and we are going to break this down, we have another massive super chat over here on YouTube from Bubby P. He didn't even say anything this time. He's just pissed off. Bubby P, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate that big super chat. And the other one before it also, thank you very much. Now, if we look at the current state of the United Kingdom, what are people upset about? There is a lot of strife. Maybe you could call it chaos, civil division in the United Kingdom right now. What is it all built upon? What is the big problem in the United Kingdom? Well, it's similar to a problem that we have here in the United States. Really, it's a problem that the entire Western world seems to be experiencing, never-ending waves of third world immigrants. The native British, Anglo-Saxon, native British population, they have had enough. They are fed up with the millions, the hundreds of thousands and millions of third world immigrants that have funneled into their country. The violence has gone up. The sexual assault has gone up. There's human trafficking and child trafficking is through the roof. There's petty crime, stealing each other's cars and it's falling apart. It's falling apart. The country's falling apart, and everybody knows it. And so in response to what has been going on, the great diversification of the United Kingdom, the Keir Starmer regime, they have said, listen, okay, you know what we're going to do? In order to crack down on this, we're going to introduce digital ID to make it difficult for illegal aliens to work in the country. That's what they're going to do. Rather than just deporting all of the third world immigrants that nobody wants, like overwhelmingly, the native British people do not want them. Rather than just getting rid of those people, instead, they're going to impose a digital identification on the hardworking, tax-paying British population, is what they're going to do. Keir Starmer gives his thoughts on this. He introduced this scheme earlier today. Take a look.
And that is why today I am announcing this government will make a new free-of-charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that. Because decent, pragmatic, fair-minded people, they want us to tackle the issues that they see around them.
Yeah.
And of course, the truth is, we won't solve our problems if we don't also take on the root causes, looking upstream to tackle poverty, conflict.
So if the idea here is that we're going to impose in the United Kingdom digital ID to stop illegal immigrants from taking the jobs of legal residents, citizens of the United Kingdom, well, here's the first problem, is that illegal aliens already can't legally get legal jobs in the United Kingdom because already there's an identification requirement to get a job. In fact, take a look at this. UK law already requires all employees to give proof of a right to work to their employer. For British and Irish citizens, this is a passport or a birth certificate. For non-citizens, this is a government-provided share code or immigration documents. So you already need to show ID, some form of ID, to get a legitimate legal job in the United Kingdom, which means imposing this new digital ID, it doesn't actually solve any problem whatsoever. It doesn't actually stop illegal aliens from getting jobs because they couldn't get them anyway. Illegal aliens are working illegal jobs, under the table, cash payments, engaging in crime. So this doesn't do anything other than crack down on law-abiding British citizens. The only people who suffer or who are under more scrutiny now as a consequence of this digital ID are legitimate, hardworking, employed, tax-paying British citizens. Now they are being surveilled. Now they are being logged and documented by the government, by the British government. Now, there was this very funny exchange that took place on British news today. I want to play for you guys. Take a look at this.
All UK citizens will have to have one. Well, the plan is that we're going to roll this out by the end of
Parliament. My question is, what if I don't? What if I've got my job, so I don't need to show this to anyone? So what if I just don't do it?
So if you don't have one, then you'll have a problem if you want to get a new job.
No, I'm saying I'm not doing this. I'm not seeking a job. So why should I get the digital ID card? Why do I do it? Well, is there some fine for not doing it? Is there an incentive to do it? I'm just thinking I've got no reason to do it.
Yeah, look, this isn't a heavy-handed approach. We're not planning to go around finding people. But what we are going to do is make sure that everybody's got one. In the same way, Charlie, as you've got a national insurance number, if you're a citizen of this country, we'll make sure that everybody has a digital ID.
So help me with this. I know we're plotting through this, but...
Yeah.
This digital ID is entirely, the word here is superfluous. The digital ID doesn't accomplish anything that the current system doesn't already accomplish other than increase the degree to which hardworking actual British legal residents and citizens are being surveilled and documented by the government. It doesn't actually do anything to stop illegal labor or illegal immigrants from doing anything. It doesn't do anything.
So everyone watching who's got a job has got a national insurance number. So when these digital ID cards exist, if I just go to my employer and show them my national insurance number, is that not sufficient? Are they being precluded from employing me?
It won't be sufficient. I just want to be really clear about that.
So they can't employ people unless they've seen a digital ID.
Cards. Yes, that's right. That is the plan.
So real quick, just to make sure I understand, the plan here is even British citizens that already have a job, let's say you've had the same job for 25 years in the United Kingdom, you will now lose that job unless you get this new digital ID. Unless you get the new digital ID, you will lose your current job. You have to have it. That's what Keir Starmer said. That's what she is saying.
And the major benefit of that to the entirety of the UK is that we will therefore be able to disrupt the illegal market where people come to this country and work illegally and undercut British workers who could otherwise get those jobs.
Well, national insurance number would have the same effect because if you're illegal, you can have one of those.
Well,
and it already does. That's a great point, and we talked about that here in a minute ago. Keir Starmer earlier today, he got the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom got community noted. He doesn't even know his own country. Take a look. He said, I know you're worried about the level of illegal migration into this country. Digital ID is another measure to make it tougher to work here illegally, making our borders more secure. This does literally nothing to secure the border. Ours is a fairer Britain built on change, not division. Community note. UK law already requires all employees to give proof of a right to work to their employer. For British and Irish citizens, this is a passport or a birth certificate. For non-citizens, this is a government-provided share code or immigration document. So once again, this does nothing to shut down illegal aliens taking people's jobs or something. All it does is bolster the already really robust British surveillance state. Now, let's take a real quick, look, I want to know, how are British people responding to this news of the digital ID? How do people feel about this? There is a survey going around. By the way, the only people that can vote in this survey I'm about to show you are people that are actually British, living in Britain, that this actually requires ID. This is on petition.parliament.uk. This is an official government petition, not a survey, a petition that only actual British people can vote in. If I wanted to, I'm an American, I couldn't vote in this. The petition is, do not introduce digital ID cards. We demand that the United Kingdom government immediately commits to not introduce digital ID cards. In the last probably 16 hours, this petition here has accumulated 1.5 million signatures. When I was getting today's broadcast ready, it was down at 1.3. So in the last hour or so, it has shot up about 200,000 signatures. British people only. People are not happy. People are not happy about this. And by the way, British people have every reason to be concerned about the empowering of the British surveillance state. I want to show you something here. This is a fact. Check me on this. 2024 arrests for social media posts in England and Wales, where the government, the British government, is arresting people for things that they are posting on social media. Now, generally, the things people are posting on social media that gets them arrested is when people are posting content that is critical of the immigration issue in the United Kingdom. So, for instance, okay, if I was a young British man and I was living in the United Kingdom and I posted, I'm not so happy with all of these immigrants coming in the country. If I were to post that on Facebook in the United Kingdom, I might get arrested. Literally, unironically. That is what is happening. 2024 arrests, total arrests in 2024, 12,000. How many? 12,000. Annual estimate under Communication Act 2003 and Malicious Communications Act. Okay. Actually, 12,183 is a number I'm seeing right here. 12,000. You want to know what that looks like, by the way? If you're saying there's no way that's happening, this is a video that came out a couple days ago, 2 days ago, went viral at just how ridiculous this is. A young girl was browsing some anti-immigrant content on her mobile phone, and the police came knocking on her door. And the young girl's mother answered and said, "Yo, what are you doing?" Take a look at this.
Okay, what was it?
Sorry, I don't like the camera. You can have my body cam. I can exhibit that to you. I just don't like the camera, really.
Okay, well, I'm doing this because this is my own house and I am telling you why I'm doing it. So I just need to know why would she's basically viewed a post which is not an arrestable offence.
Viewed an offence, that's good. Okay. It happened in May and you're completely fine. The only thing is we need to seize the phone at this current moment. The phone needs to get seized from us, otherwise we will escalate this further. So,
but with a voluntary interview. So have you seized anyone else? Is she the only child you're picking on?
Voluntary interview, you'd be able to come in.
Have you spoken to anyone else? No, we'll come to the station now.
Do you mind letting her finish her sentence before?
Yeah.
She does have to get further escalation, unfortunately.
That's fine.
So by the way, this mother here, according to the mother who answered the door, is saying that it's her daughter who didn't even make the post on social media. She didn't retweet the post or like the post. She just saw the post. That is allegedly what's going on here. We're going to have to escalate this situation right now, isn't it?
Fine, we'll come to the station now.
The phone isn't seized right now, and we're not able to basically get the phone. We'd have to escalate this further, which means your daughter will get arrested.
For what? Viewing a social media post? Is that
I need to go with her in order to...
No, absolutely not.
What should we do to
prevent destruction of evidence?
And now they're just coming in the house.
Lisa!
That's fine. I would like you to leave now. I'd like you to leave.
This is why you're...
Okay, I have nothing more to say to you. A social media post. I've got nothing more to say. I'd like you to leave. You've harassed this child enough. I'd like you to leave.
Lisa, that's no worries.
They're seizing the phone. They're just barging in the house without a warrant. This is insane. So, folks, real quick, as a reminder, Little reminder here, there is not a single country on the face of the planet that enshrines and protects freedom of speech to the degree that we do here in the United States. There's not a single other country. I implore you to go check. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. The American First Amendment is the most robust protection of freedom of speech that is currently on the face of the planet. And thank God for that. Thank God we have the First Amendment, because if we didn't, we might have more situations like this. So that's that. So listen, the reason I show you this video is to show you, listen, this is sort of the consequence of dynamics like this digital ID. What the British government wants to do is be able to follow and log and categorize every single thing that you, British person, do in your entire life. They want a consolidated database. You are an entry, you are an entry. Every single person in the country has an entry, and everything you do, whether it be viewing a social media post or posting a meme on Facebook, all of your private messages perhaps between you and your grandma, all of that's going to be tied with your tax employment number, with your, with your employer. They're going to know where you work. This is what they want. It's a total surveillance state. Simply put, they want a total surveillance state. So the reason why this is concerning is because this is one really big, egregious, serious step towards that. And as Americans over here in America, we ought to be concerned about something similar happening here in the country. Honestly, if I had to give you a bet, this is not my preference, but if I had to give you a Nostradamus prediction, if I had to look in my crystal ball, I bet it's 5 years until we start having these conversations about this here in the United States. Do you agree? I'm not saying I want that. Of course, I don't want that. But if I had to make a bet here, if I was at a Las Vegas betting table, I would put 10 grand on within 5 years, we are going to be having conversations in this country, in the United States of America, about enacting some type of digital ID, real ID. By the way, a lot of countries have this now. Japan has this. Korea has this. South Korea, not North Korea. North Korea probably also. South Korea, China. A lot of countries, I think various other countries in Europe also have some sort of system like this. In fact, I was in South Korea in 2013. This is over a decade ago. They've had this for a long time, such that every single account you make on the internet, Facebook account, video game account, Twitter account, whatever, every single thing you're doing on the internet is tied directly in South Korea to what is effectively your social security number. It was like that in 2013. You can't make a Facebook account or a video game account or any type of account on the internet without tying that account to your social security number, your government issued personal identification number. So that right there is complete and total government oversight, government surveillance on everything that you do. This sense of anonymity, which is very important. Listen, anonymous speech is protected under the First Amendment. In fact, a little bit of an American history lesson right here, folks. I think a lot of you guys know this. Some of you might not. This country would not exist. The United States of America would never have been thrust into existence in the absence of anonymous speech. You guys know that the Federalist Papers and Thomas Paine's Common Sense, these are two hugely important pieces of literature in early American history that really led to our revolution, our revolution of independence against the British. These original founding papers, these documents, this literature was published anonymously right before the revolution to help kick off the revolution, because if it wasn't published anonymously, then their heads would have been chopped off by the British crown. You're looking at the crown right there. So this country literally would not exist in the absence of anonymous speech. This country was built on anonymous speech. So I do take it personally. I do take offense to the notion that the government should be able to monitor everything that I do on the internet. It's ridiculous. Anonymous speech is free speech. Free speech is anonymous speech. It's very important. But anyway, that's what's going on in the United Kingdom. Now, folks, I said if you guys bear with me, if you stay with me to the end of today's broadcast, I would have a special surprise for those of you that are interested. Folks, that is going to be a wrap for today's show on Twitch and on Kick and on YouTube. Folks, there's a video that came out the other day uploaded by a YouTuber named Tyler Oliveira. It is called England is on the Brink of Civil War. It's an on-the-ground investigative documentary journalism. What is going on the streets of the United Kingdom? It's bad. It's crazy. We are going to watch this video. on Rumble exclusively. My channel name is Matt Morris TV on Rumble. I'm going to wrap up on Twitch and on YouTube and on Kick. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on those platforms. We were live in 4 places today. Now we're going to Rumble. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you are dipping out, if you're not going to follow us over there, thank you. We'll be back tomorrow with more news coverage. Of course, we're here every day, 7 days a week. Matt Morris TV on Rumble. So I'm going to wrap up over here, and then we're going to continue the show. One moment here, folks. Stand by. And if you're dipping out, thank you very much. Thank you sincerely for tuning in. I'm slowly going offline here on some of these websites. And there's that. I'm flipping offline on Twitch.